people enter chat and they say it's quiet, I'll probably tweak it for a little bit. But I guess I'll just go ahead and cut the first 5 minutes of this one and making a highlight. What's up, everyone? It's been a while since I've even streamed with a mic, so bear with me here a little bit. It's been a while since I've updated Bunbun World. I've told everyone I'm working on 1.1 for this to fix a bunch of little minor things that kind of popped up as I was watching playthroughs. To be perfectly honest, I'm kind of just, as of right now, willing to just kind of accept the very minor jank that's in this game and just kind of learn from it and move on. I may change my mind later and update stuff because there are things that I have saved that I kind of want to go back and fix, but for now I'd rather just focus on kind of learning and making new things still. So if you're wondering where that is and why I'm still doing this on 1.0, even though 1.0 has been out for almost like a month and a half or 2 months now, that's why. I've actually already started pretty significant work on Bunbun World 2, but I figured before I got too far into that, I'd do this project, which is something I've thought about doing for a while. And honestly, I personally haven't seen anything like this, and I kind of hope that creators will start to do this a little bit more. But, oops, I can get rid of the stream starting shortly, because it is started now. But I kind of wanted to just talk about my game as I was developing it, and kind of just try to, I don't want to say show it off a little bit, but kind of just talk about some of the stuff that I did that during development I changed, some of the decisions I had to make. I don't know. I just thought it might be fun to kind of, as the developer of the hack and the guy who kind of designed pretty much everything in here, outside of a couple of very small things, which I'll obviously give shoutouts to as I go through. I thought it might be nice to kind of have a run with the thought process. I guess it'll also technically be the first official speedrun in this game. I'm not going to be running my own game, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm going to have a timer going just because I'm kind of curious to see how fast I can beat it compared to some other people that have beaten it now. Because now that the game's been out for a while, I've actually gotten to watch a pretty significant amount of people clear it. I was keeping track of people for a while, but truth be told, a lot of people have been playing this game, which is way better than I thought. Thanks, Ben. I'm going to go ahead and I can't really raise the mic at all. I can try to move it slightly closer again, but the problem is that my setup for the mic is pretty jank, so I guess I'll just try to lean as close to it as I can. But speaking of, Benevic is one of the guys who helped significantly with this game, so it's kind of fitting that he's here, because I didn't tell him that I was doing this at all. So shoutouts to Ben, because without him, Bunbun World would not have been what it is, like half of what it is. He's helped with a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm going to try to shout out as many people as I can, but honestly, the credits at the end of the game kind of do a better job of shouting everyone out than I could, personally. I'll go through and kind of talk about the music and stuff as I'm going through and shout out the people who ported that, because all of the music that's in this game is stuff that I grabbed off SMW Central, because I am not nearly good enough to write my own music for Super Mario World. I understand the process of it, but I just don't really write music that well. So I've kind of been rambling. It's already been 3 minutes or so for this intro, so I guess I'll go ahead and kind of just get started on this. So this title screen, the music for this is Marco Carrera's Lease with a port by Google. As you can tell, it's a very long loop, which is the one thing that I kind of wanted from my title screen. I personally kind of hate when title screens are just some super fast thing that just loops super fast, because when you're setting up for a stream, it's not very entertaining. And one thing I wanted to do is have an entertaining title screen, even if it wasn't super crazy Kaizo title screen. I just wanted to have one that was fun to watch and just wait for the game to start. So I guess getting into it now, next port is a port of the Phoenix Wright 3 antagonist song. This port is by Masashi 27, and honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite video game songs. So kind of always thought that if I had a game, that would be a good representative song. I didn't start a timer, so we'll just add first official speedrun of this game, and I'm already fucking up the timer. I'm just gonna go, like, it doesn't really matter because I'm going over the overworld anyway, so just add 20 seconds, I guess. So this is my overworld for this game. I personally think it's entertaining enough. I just wanted to have something that actually looked like a world when I was doing it, so I was pretty happy with it. I'm gonna do this tutorial even though it's kind of weird, just because I know a lot of people who were picking up this game, or at least planning on originally picking up this game, were not the most, like, experienced Kaizo players. So I wanted to give them something to learn about in this game. But the problem is that there's a lot of stuff that people kind of found that made this tutorial a little bit more jank. Also, I've never seen anybody try to go for that moon, but it's there. So this part specifically is teaching for Forest of Lakitu stuff, which is a later World 2 level. And this is teaching for stuff in 6 Green Suites, which is a castle coming up soon. I really kind of wanted to focus in this hack on trying to make stuff that was a little bit more thoughtfully designed. No offense to anyone else out there, I guess, but like, I didn't want to shell jump in my hack. That was one restriction I made pretty early on, because honestly I really sucked at shell jumps when I started making this hack. I'm a little bit better now, but there's still not like a strength of mine. But because there is a lot of weird stuff in this game, I kind of wanted to put a tutorial in here that shows off some of it a little bit more. And also, if you don't know, there's a message difference if you are on Yoshi or not when you're in Yoshi's Island. So I'll die here and show it off, I guess. But if you hit this message box before getting on Yoshi, it says the thing in the beginning of the game, or the first message box, where it's just saying go down the pipe for a Kaizo tutorial, and then if you're on Yoshi, it actually gives you the message here, which is supposed to be the hint for the secret exit in the next level. So I guess we'll just go ahead and do that now. So this level, Apple Hill Forest, oh, I forgot to shout out the music in the last level. Bunbun's apartment was Super Nazo Puyo 2, which I believe is Puyo Puyo Pop, but for some reason on SMW Central it was written with a Japanese name. And then this is Pokemon XY, the Kalos power plant. Kalos? I don't know why I said Kalos. I'm just gonna die because that was off. But this level was obviously themed around kind of fall aesthetics. This was one of the first levels that I drew a palette for. And honestly, there's some stuff I would change about it in 1.1, especially after talking with Mini Mawile a little bit about it. But I do like the colors of it. It's nice and warm, and it's kind of a different feel, I think, than a lot of other hacks, especially for the first level of the game. And as I kind of didn't really talk about, but I'm going to point out now, the hint to go left in Apple Hill Forest is to point out that there's a key just chilling behind that stump. It's very easy to find that key without the hint. Like, a vast majority of players do not do that tutorial and still find the key pretty quickly just by running left. It wasn't exactly designed or like meant to be like world's hardest like secret exit. It's just kind of one that I thought was kind of funny. It also forces you to technically redo the first half, but it's only because the secret exit is right after. So I also haven't done this in a while, so I'm probably gonna fuck it up. Yeah, it's gonna be real embarrassing. Okay, good. So I actually haven't played this since release, to be perfectly honest, so if I'm a little rusty, that's why. But as you did in the tutorial, if you spam spin jump there, you can kind of clip through the ground with key when you're big and get the secret exit. So regular exit, I don't exactly have like a route for this since it's 100%, you have to do all of the exits anyway. There is a little bit of a difference for the any percent route, which I haven't actually done a run for or anything, honestly. I was kind of just going to leave that to whoever wanted to speedrun this game, I guess. But because the game, I guess I'll actually probably save that for when I'm at Star Road. But Star Road has a little bit of a difference in this game compared to most other Kaizo hacks, where you can actually kind of warp around a little bit more. So you can kind of pick and choose your levels in this game. I think you only have to play like 11 exits. I don't know if it's actually even 11 exits, honestly, to get through any percent. But it's actually fairly significantly shorter than 100%. So if the speedrun ever does pick up, I think it might be kind of interesting to watch. But honestly, outside of this 100% run that is the laziest run of all time that I'm doing right now, I'm not really going to run this game, personally. But anyway, this level, as you can see in the second half, is mostly about trying to keep your mushroom for a little while. This second half of this level, you can talk to my playtesters, it probably underwent like drastic redesign probably 6 or 7 times, and I don't, oh god, I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm very surprised I was able to save that. So that bomb carry part was significantly longer before, and it was kind of more annoying, honestly. I think now it's kind of more toned down for a level 1 exit. Now, if you're wondering, you don't actually get to keep power-ups out of any of the levels in this game because Counterbreak's on. I'm not going to be able to shout out every single patch that's on this game, but Counterbreak is on, so even if you escape a level with a power-up, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to double back to Star Road here because, as you can see, it's technically a World 4. As mild spoilers for this game, you are going to need all of these 3 levels on the left in order to fully beat the level on the right. So for 100% you will have to go through all of these. But if you just stop before the any percent or the 100% castle, you can kind of just choose to do these levels at your own pace, and as you'll see, it kind of skips you forward a level or two, depending on where you are. I think actually it's only a level per time, but either way, it kind of allows for a little bit different of routing. Potentially, if you're better at one level than another level, you can kind of just route that into the speedrun at your own pace, I guess. So this level, I haven't even really talked about the gimmick yet or anything about it. Shoutouts to Sonic Mania for this song, because the song kicks ass. And as you can see, this water is kind of rising and falling a little awkwardly. When I was looking for ideas on what to do for a hybrid water level, I kind of came across this weird SMW Central post that like was trying to give you like do's and don'ts of level design, and one of their like don'ts of level design was like never mix layer 3 and camera scrolling because it'll mess up and be super weird. And I don't know if you've noticed, but like most of the platforming in this game is kind of weird. So naturally, I was like, well, what happens if you do mix that up? Because I hadn't really seen that before. And basically what ends up happening is the camera... No, yump. Just gonna reset. Basically what ends up happening is the camera locks the layer 3, like 3 tiles off of the bottom, so the water ends up rising and falling. And interestingly, because of the way the layer 3 water works, it technically adds all of the water underneath it. So those platforms end up rising and falling with where the water surface actually is. So, case in point, interesting idea for a level. I hope more people do it. The only other person I've really seen at this point that's done it is Why Not for the race level, and that one was super fun. So, as I was kind of alluding to, you can see that Star Road didn't actually just take you right back, it instead skipped you ahead to Six Green Sweets, which is the level after Dino Rhinos. So, if you didn't like the Dino Rhino level, you'd be able to go there, I guess. This is Top Gear Hiroshima with the port by, yeah. So, as you can see, this level is all about Dino Rhinos. Personally, one of my favorite enemies in SMW. They're a little basic, but also they're adorable. And honestly, I don't really think they're like all over in SMW, but they're kind of one of like my most memorable memories from this game. I've been playing this game more or less since I was like 5 years old, I think, because that was the one game I had on my Super Nintendo that I could beat. And these guys always stood out to me as just fun enemies to play around with. So when I was making a hack, I knew that pretty much no matter what, I'd be making a level with these guys in it. So this obstacle at the end is one that tends to trip up people. Most of the obstacles before this are like somewhat straightforward, like just kind of pop off guys, then you get a P-switch, and then you gotta carry the P-switch to where you can use it. But the ending obstacle is one that you kind of have to like stall on the Dino Rhinos for a little bit and take advantage of the fact that you can bounce on them twice, and you can kind of wait a little while. Shoutouts to the playtesters for this, by the way. I haven't actually gotten a chance to shout them out yet, but I had, I believe, over 20 people that were willing to help play through stuff for this game, and all of their criticism pretty much made this game playable, honestly. If I would have released the first version of this game without any kind of playtesting help, honestly, it would have been a disaster. I don't have a script written down. I probably should have, so I could have actually thanked all of the people by hand. But I'll hopefully be playing through this entire game, and we'll definitely be able to thank people come credits time, I guess. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to them because this level definitely got a lot of tweaks from playtesting that made it a lot more playable. So I just wanted to kind of thank them for that. Alright. So the second half of the level is not just 100% Dino Rhinos. It starts to mix in kind of castle-y stuff, and it's still kind of just bouncing and platforming because that's pretty much all you can do with Dino Rhinos, honestly. But since I wanted this game to be mostly focused on just different kinds of jumps that you can do in this game, regrabs and stuff, I thought it'd be pretty fun to be able to see what I could come up with for this. I still think these guys are also kind of underexplored, and I could see myself designing stuff with it in the future, because it is pretty fun. But as you can see, not really doing that great at this level. One thing that I do really like about Dino Rhinos that I found out in this level is they behave really nicely with those ropes that I have. And by the way, shoutouts to Silver P-switches, because they're fun. So those rope tiles that I have, if you don't know, in Super Mario World hacking are called 1F0, and basically it's just a rope tile where enemies can slide along it, but Mario doesn't. It's not technically like a rope tile, but if you want to think of it like that, it'll work. So basically, because the enemies keep sliding along that, the dino torches kind of behave a little bit better than they normally would. So it ends up actually working out a little bit better to design a lot with 1F0 if you're doing that. Alright, so next up is 6 Screen Suites. And the music for this one is Alcahest Castle, Port by Moose. It's been another S&W hacks, but I like it, so I wanted it in this one. And as you can see, the inspiration for this one is claustrophobia and the whole one-screen gimmick. This level specifically underwent a lot of playtesting, and for a while there were actually no checkpoints in this, and it was a 5-screen castle, but everyone hated that. So it is now a 6-screen castle where you just get to save every single screen. Because of that, though, you actually, in my opinion, get to design with a lot of really kind of dumb ideas that otherwise you wouldn't really be able to get away with. Including this room in particular, which tends to decimate quite a lot of people. So, nets in Super Mario World are very weird, and nets with Layer 2 are even weirder. You can see for a brief, I'm actually going to point this out a little bit, you can see for a brief frame, I'm falling right here. A lot of people don't figure out what's going on because if you try to carry an item on the back of the net and fall right here, it'll fall back onto the front. But for one frame, you're actually falling right there. It's just a difference between the Layer 1 and Layer 2 net. But I just wanted to point that out for anyone who's like played this game and was wondering about that. So my intended solution for this room, and one that I think you can more easily learn if you did the tutorial, is just to kick the shell right here. It passes behind the Bowser statue, you damage boost, and just run through. A lot of people tend to mess around with the shell on the back side of the net, which is doable, but not necessarily the easiest solution. And this room went fast, so I'm actually going to die so I can explain it a little bit more. The point of this room is to beat the mold down to here, because if you take your time and just like ride the mold down, you actually aren't able to activate this carrot platform at all. I wanted to do something without it just being like a mole riding room where you just kind of jump up and jump down over and over again. And honestly, this room was actually a redesign room. I originally had this room as the smaller moles and a bunch of like super Koopas, but it was random and I hated it, so it instead became this kind of like Moltres Starry room. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I should have just beaten this room when I had the chance. I one-shot this room, and then try to talk about it more, and then suddenly it's taken forever. Sounds about right. By the way, I think this will actually end up going up on my YouTube channel. I would like to potentially edit it a little bit if it's going on YouTube, just to make sure that it makes sense. But if you're curious, I'm hoping this run specifically will be lasting a little while. I am super happy that the second I decided to redo this room so I could talk about it, I forgot how to do this room. There we go. Alright, so shoutouts to boss fights, because this originally wasn't even in this game, but I realized that P-balloons are really fucking weird. So the gimmick of this room is actually, as you can see, a P-balloon Reznor, but the main troll in this room is after you beat the boss fight, you lose control of P-balloon and you just float off in whatever direction you're rebounding in. So 90% of players who will end up playing this room will just kind of float up near the top, whatever. And then when they end up beating the fight, they'll end up kind of ricocheting down into the corner and end up killing themselves in the lava, like, as the victory chime is going off and stuff. But the reason that happens is because for some reason, after you beat Reznor, you, like, lose your ability to move around with the D-pad, so you can't actually, like, keep yourself up. So going into what I personally think is the first, like, roadblock of the game from what I've seen, we have World 2 and specifically Mount Ninja. This overworld music, by the way, is Chrono Trigger Brink of Time, port by Decoy Blimp. And Mount Ninja, as you can see from it being a red level, I did kind of try to stick to that format of red levels equal 2 exits, yellow levels equal 1 exit, by the way. So as you can see, there's 2 exits in this level. And this level is themed around the Bowser Ball tile set, and specifically using Ninjas and Mecha Koopas and stuff. I'm going to do the regular exit first, so I can kind of just talk about all this stuff. But this music is Secret of Mana, Few Paths Forbidden, with the port by Masterlink. And shoutouts to Steep Slopes, by the way, the #1 thing that everyone's complained about. So, going through the level, it's basically just like a vertical cave level. This is actually the first level I designed, like, for this game that actually stuck around. So for that alone, I'm pretty happy with it. It also kind of involves a lot of Mecha Koopa tech, as you're about to see, which is kind of interesting, but circling around to why I had it paused on here, I also wanted to use the invisible 1-up gates that are frequently seen in non-Kaizo hacks, because I personally don't really see them a lot in Kaizo hacks, and I think they honestly have quite a lot of potential. So for this one, I specifically said invisible 1-ups are hidden in bright grassy areas and stuff. That doesn't really mean anything right now, but as you're about to see, if you get curious and you're like, what's over here? Before I died, at the top of the screen, there's bright grass above this muncher. So you get curious and you're like, well, how do I get to that 1-up at all? Because as you can see, it's just lava here. So what you end up having to do is using the spring from over here, because cave lava is really dumb and for some reason doesn't actually kill sprites if you like kick stuff onto it, or if you kick like springs specifically, I think, onto it. Maybe P switches too. Oh my god. Please just show it off. So, when you get over here and don't die, you're able to spawn that 1-up. And basically what spawning that 1-up does is it gets rid of every other instance in the game, or at least this level, of this tile called invisible 1-up checkpoint number 4, which for people who don't design hacks means absolutely nothing. But basically what it means is you can hide stuff, and basically after you trigger the 1-up, stuff becomes unhidden. I'm going to save that secret exit for after I beat the regular exit though, because it kind of has a little bit more stuff to talk about. And I think explaining the basics in this half would probably be easier than trying to explain everything in the second half. So, as you can see, this level is built around ninja platforming and stuff. It is possible to one-cycle this, but it's pretty tight. So what normally ends up happening is you get these 3 bounces off to the right over here. I just cannot do this level at all today. So what normally happens is you get these 3 ninja bounces off to the right and end up having to time the 4th ninja up top. There we go. Oh my god, please. And the reason everyone in the world hates steep slopes, myself included now, is because you have to like kind of approach them from not sliding down the hill, because if you slide down the hill on a steep slope you just lose too much control and you end up just dying pretty quickly. Yeah. Oh my god, please. Who would put a steep slope in their hack? I mean, really. I really did not think that was gonna make it. So, as you can see, this level's kind of where the game starts to pick up a little bit more. And I haven't really talked about the difficulty of this game, so I guess now's a decent time to talk about it. When I was making this game, oh god, I actually have to do this with the wraparound. Okay. It is possible to get that with a wraparound, but it's a lot harder. So when I was making this game, initially I was not really planning on it being a Kaizo hack, if I'm perfectly honest. I was initially planning on it just kind of being more of a hack along the lines of something like Jump, but maybe a little bit harder, because I did want the person who this game is named after, my wife, Nell. I wanted her to be able to potentially play this game, but as I started designing it, I sort of made it too hard, to be perfectly honest. So it's a Kaizo hack now, and at least for the Bunbun World series, it will continue to be Kaizo hacks. I may make stuff in the future that's not Kaizo, but it wouldn't be under this title specifically. So basically, in the world of Kaizo, since there's a pretty big difference between Kaizo hacks, I was aiming for this one to be around the difficulty of Akagari Mario World by Mega Scott. Personally, one of my favorite Kaizo hacks of all time. I feel like a lot of people, like, obviously, credit where credit is due, and Grand Blue World 2 and Invictus are obviously, like, the cream of the crop with Kaizo hacks. But I would honestly put Akagari pretty much right there as well, just because it's pure platforming, it's very fun platforming, and it's actually the game that honestly gets a lot of people pretty good at regrabs. That, or Super Gracie World by White Moth, which is another great hack. So, as you can see, in this half of the level, it's mostly just about trying to keep this Mecha Koopa with you. So you're able to actually kick... Oh my god, I died. So you can kick it over here, bounce off of here, and get the midway. So shoutouts to YouTube, because YouTube won't have to watch me struggle to get back there. Sorry Twitch, because I gotta get back there now. Probably doesn't help that I'm going for this one cycle now, because I almost got it, but I want this one cycle now. Nope. Get punished by not going for the one cycle. So, if you're wondering, Bunbun World 1.1 will have this music block lowered by 1, as well as having the ceiling slightly altered, because I haven't had it happen yet, but you are able to bounce off of that ninja chain high enough to spawn that Bowser ball and kind of screw yourself over. So that will be changed whenever I get around to not being lazy and editing this game, but for now, I think it's okay. Oh god. So let's go ahead and not be a dumbass this time. Just jump right here. I think a lot of people, because this pipe is the same color as the lava sort of, don't know that you can stand on that, but that was the intention of that part at least, is just to stand right there. So now that we're back to new content here, I wanted the second half of this level to be easier than the first half, because as you can tell, the first half of that level is sort of a pretty significant step up from the beginning part of the game. So this is mostly just having fun with Mecha Koopas and kicking them around and stuff. You can actually save that Mecha Koopa off of this kick, but I intentionally let it die so I could show this off. Because this is something I found like probably a year ago in testing, and honestly I've never seen it in another hacked. But basically, you die if a Mecha Koopa walks into you, even if like you're jumping up on it and should be able to kill it. Because Mecha Koopa's hitbox is kind of weird, and it can still kill you on the top tile, but you have to jump on the bottom tile in order to actually like squish it down like that. So it just so happens that clouds sort of interfere with that just enough that you're not able to squish them. I kind of wanted to show that off because that's honestly kind of like weird SMW stuff that I personally hadn't seen before. And like I was saying, you can save that. But if you're wondering, you can also get this guy by just kind of popping him where there aren't clouds, and then kick this up here, bounce that over. You can kick it over there. I personally like to do this way, which Microwave Brother did, and I liked enough to be able to put it in, where the Mecha Koopa just runs off here and then doubles back around. I didn't really have momentum, so I sort of fucked up the jump, but I personally think that way is a little bit more consistent, because you don't have to worry about the Mecha Koopa potentially running away. It's not like a huge concern, but it is a concern enough that you should be aware of it, I guess. But you can also set it down right there, which you can do by jumping and holding down and then letting go. And basically what will end up happening is it bounces around right there, and you're fine. And this final room is meant to kind of just be like a free room. You originally had to do that room in combination with the last room, and it ended up kind of pissing off a lot of people. So I just made it like a free room where you can get those coins if you want, or just go to the end if you want. So, like I was hinting at earlier, Mount Ninja has 2 exits, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second exit before I do Slippery Spirits. which we already unlocked earlier on by getting the invisible 1-up down there. I guess I'll show it off again in case I end up editing that for some reason, but due to the hint earlier, there's the yellow grass right there, which is supposed to have invisible 1-ups. You grab that spring, kick it over there, and bounce up. I'm not going to actually do it because it's not going to show the 1-up. But the second half of this level is a medium auto-scroller. Shout out to Donkey Kong Country for having one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, because it allowed me to put it in this game and have fun. This port is from the first Donkey Kong Country. It's Ice Cave Chant, and it's by 6646. And this room specifically is just kind of more Mecha Koopa stuff, specifically on the 1F0 ropes that were last shown in Dino Rhinos, I think. This right here is another instance of the Mecha Koopas on Clouds not being killable and sort of turning into like RNG buzzsaws, sort of. And then this part honestly kind of tends to trip up people a little bit, because it's switching back and forth between having a Mecha Koopa and having a key. And you may think that they have the same properties, but honestly they're pretty different. So what ends up happening is you kick the key up here. Because keys don't despawn, it taking forever actually isn't that big of a deal. And then you bring the Mecha Koopa with you because the Mecha Koopa can kill enemies, which means that you're actually able to use it there. Key drops off, and basically you just have to time your Mecha Koopa bounce around that lava lotus and bounce up. That room used to be a lot longer until it pissed off one of my playtesters too much, so shoutouts to my playtesters for telling me to shorten that. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do Slippery Spirits first, so I can just do this level after, and then just link up to the room out here. So, as the name kind of implies, this is an ice level with ghosts. Personally, it's one of my favorite aesthetics in the game because, as you can see, it kind of mixes together a lot of stuff that's not normally seen together into a level that feels like it makes sense, I guess. So this level is obviously built around all of the cool ghost sprites that are in SMW. I really didn't want to do like a ghost house, honestly. So, as you can see, even though there's a ghost house on the overworld, we're sliding around in a cave and foreground with, like, planes and stuff. So, it's like a weird gimmick of mixed stuff together, but it feels kind of fun, I think. By the way, shout out to MC Ricky for that P-Speed strat. I messed it up by forgetting that you had to actually bounce on the boo block, but when he was playtesting this, he asked for that to be a potential strat, so I put it in. And by the way, my controller's kind of messing up, so if I break these by holding left randomly, that's why. You're basically, for this part, only supposed to hold down. I guess I could have turned on input display for this game, but all I'm doing in this part is holding down and using the momentum of ice to be able to get through here. And then spin jumping or regular jumping depending on the color of the coins, basically. Blue equals spin and yellow equals a regular jump. Spin jumps, for those of you that don't know and are watching this, let you bounce off of enemies that you wouldn't be able to bounce off of, whereas regular jumps are a little bit bigger. And this part, shout out to that concrete block, because I've seen people freak out and think that it was a boo block and then kill themselves from it. And this second half is built around kind of taking that bubble that I just bounced off of with you through the level. So in order to do that, I had to kind of think of a way to respawn it. So I made you platform for a little bit, grab a P-switch, and come back. Honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite setups in this game because it feels pretty organic, and it feels like you're not just running left to respawn stuff, or running right to respawn stuff. I should have died from that way earlier, so that's okay. It gave me a little bit more time to talk about it, I guess. So I didn't really get to talk about the Boo Laser obstacle, but that's one that kind of tends to trip people up, so I'm going to kind of explain it a little bit more on this life. Assuming I get there, I guess. But basically what you want to do is you want to hold off screen a little bit, and then spin jump underneath it. And what ends up happening when you do that is the boo laser's in a better spot. If you end up going right there and just trying to hurry through, it is in a pretty bad spot, and honestly, you maybe have a frame to get through, but it's pretty tight. So what I tend to do is hang back, let that Eerie that's in the way get out of the way, and then hop through the boo laser, and it works pretty much every time. But yeah, kind of talking more about like the design philosophy of this level. When I was trying to think of levels to make for this game, I really wanted to make an ice level that wasn't a typical ice level, and a ghost level that wasn't like a typical ghost level. And I've seen ice ghost houses done before in, I believe, Kurosu. I would think the Special World level is like that. But I wanted this one to kind of just be like a weird platforming level using ghost stuff, ending in going into the house and being able to battle Big Boo here, which I guess I could have waited around for him to spawn. But basically what you need to do, I'll wait so you can actually see where he is. So basically what you need to do is you need to use 3 items to kill Big Boo. One of them's already in here. The other items are the Baby Yoshi, which if you don't know kills Big Boo, and this key over here, which also kills Big Boo. I kind of wanted a boss fight in this to be a little bit more... I like really hesitate to call this a puzzle because it's not a puzzle at all, but I wanted it to be a little bit more than just like block jump again, block jump a 3rd time. So basically what you have to do is kind of kill him in a fairly specific order. There's a little bit of leniency in this fight now that I added those boos, because the original version of this boss fight only had you in there against the Big Boo. So it was pretty mandatory that you hit him with the Yoshi first, and then the key, and then the throw block. So I'm just going to do it in that order. But basically you hit him with the Yoshi, and then don't grab as you're landing, or you're going to end up grabbing that key. Because Big Boo will kind of just keep the same arc, he'll end up actually hitting that key, which removes it as a platform, which means that you have to block jump in order to get this last hit past these boos, which are actually in a pretty bad spot. But I think it'll be okay. Okay. I could have also just like waited, but I wanted to do that on the way over. You now don't actually have to do it in that specific of an order, because you can use the boos to just spin jump over to the block. I don't really think I'm going to get rid of that because I don't really care, honestly, but just know that it is an option. And before doing Forest of Lakitus, I'm going to go back and do the other level, because, spoilers, the other level links up to Forest of Lakitus, meaning that you can do Mount Ninja Secret Exit plus this level, or Mount Ninja Normal Exit plus Slippery Spirits. This level is Rain Slick Redwoods. I didn't even talk about the music in the last level, whoops. So, Slippery Spirits music, Chrono Trigger, Underground Sewer, Port by Mercury. Once you get into the boss fight, Romancing Saga 3, Bione's Nest, Port by Master Link. Now that we're in here, this is Mega Man 8 Astro Man, I believe, with the port by Young Gotenks. I've been pretty bad about shouting out who's actually porting all this, but for the music especially, since I did absolutely none of it, I feel like I need to kind of shout out everyone I can. But if you haven't noticed from the Special World so far, the first Special World level was sort of a take, or a different take on the water level from the Secret Exit, and this level is sort of an ice level that's closer to Slippery Spirits, but a kind of different version of it. So I wanted you to still have to play an ice level, basically, in the any percent route, but I sort of let you pick what ice level you do, and then for the first Secret Exit, you get to kind of pick what water level you do, either the water level of the second half of the first one, or the water level with the rising tides and stuff. I wanted Special World to sort of be like a weird twist on the regular stuff you were doing, but also getting to explore new ideas. This one's, as you can see, is mostly just built around ice preservation. Sort of similar to I forget the name, but Karatas, I think it is. The level in Bunbun World 2 where you're sliding around on the mountain and stuff. And I guess Echo Base too from Bunbun World 1. Mostly just bar ice levels, I guess. So being able to preserve momentum as Big Mario is pretty fun in ice, which is why I wanted to try my take on it. A couple of these obstacles are also inspired by the ROM Hack Races levels that I played, which is a community that if you don't know, you should definitely check out. It's a bunch of people who play blind levels and stuff and race against each other and try to do it. So spin jump through there, that's the trick that's done to get the secret exit earlier. It's used a couple times in this hack because I wanted something beyond just like typical mushroom gates everywhere. And then the second half was originally completely different. I got 100% scrapped because, like, pretty close to the release, I ended up hating it. And then got replaced with this part, which in my opinion is a lot more fun. So that's why you should always play test stuff, because I don't even remember what this level was before, but like all of this stuff with the sliding in the second half, all of this stuff with the ropes and stuff weren't here. But basically, this will allow you to get the second switch, which I actually got the jump off of, which is kind of funny. Can't get it off of the easy one, but got it off of the hard one. It's kind of weird for this level to be a Switch Palace, I guess, because obviously it was not themed like a Switch Palace at all. But I kind of wanted an atypical exit from Special World, so I figured just having everything be Switch Palaces would be kind of fun. Alright, so next up, Forest of Lakitus, probably one of the best SMW ports of all time. No offense to anyone else, but this song sounds awesome. It's Last Bible 3 Underworld Forest with the port by TCDW. And as you can see, it's built around Lakitus and following wigglers and stuff. So I personally have only seen Lakitus in Kaizo hacks in Super Rift World. So I wanted to play around with them a little bit here. This tech is stuff that honestly everyone hates for a very good reason, because this is wiggler bouncing. I did it in the tutorial, but basically what you want to do is kind of get around onto it and fast fall down. A lot of people obviously have never done that before, so it's kind of awkward, but it is consistent once you learn it, in my opinion. It's just really kind of weird. This is another level that got a complete redesign, by the way, because the second half actually used to be like an intense like P-balloon obstacle course thing. I ended up hating it, so did a lot of playtesters, so it ended up turning into this, which is basically just kind of like a boss battle sort of against Lakitu, where you end up stealing his cloud. That text bubble basically just says that if you like spin jump on Lakitu, you kill it, but if Lakitu dies in another way, you end up winning. I'm not going to go through that exit though, because as you can see, that exit actually ends up killing you, which is a troll that honestly a lot of people fall for, because it's kind of a cheap shot, but it's one that I've wanted to put in apparently. And then you just go to the exit behind it, and that's the one that you actually are able to win off of. This level is Cotton Candy Castle. The music in the first three parts is Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, Crucifix Held Close by Ultima. And this level is built around layer 2 cave stuff, but with a castle aesthetic, basically. For this part, you basically need to stall until the swoopers actually get in your way. Stall down to here, spin jump off of here. Blarg's really weird and kind of spin jump in whatever way that you're aiming them. Get through here before that spike top ends up going over there. Spin jump on this guy twice, do a little re-grab to be able to line that up, and then spin jump off of that Blarg onto the platform over there. This is another level that tends to trip people up when they're playing blind, especially, just because it is kind of another step up in difficulty. But honestly, I kind of wanted that because the rest of World 3 is pretty tough, so I figured having a World 2 boss that is pretty fitting for that sort of pushes the player up a little bit more. And honestly, I really love designing Layer 2 stuff. There's a couple instances of it in this hack, and I will definitely be designing with it in the future, because in my opinion, Layer 2 is one of the coolest things about SMW. It's really, really, really hard to design fluidly, and it's especially hard to design fluidly if you're trying to give players, like, more than one chance to do stuff. But honestly, even if you have to force players to do stuff, like, in one go, it feels super satisfying. And if you are afraid to design with it, you should just try to learn with it, because it's fun. I'm kind of sad that I almost one-shot this while, like, talking through what to do, and then started to struggle with it now, but that's okay. So this is another level that actually got pretty radically modified thanks to playtesting. The first half, not really so much beyond just aesthetics trying to get cleaned up, but the second half, and especially the third half of this level, which is something that was not even a thing until playtesters asked for it. That's a little bit of lag right there, apparently. But basically, as you can see, this is built around Spiny Top, bouncing, and Blarg bouncing and stuff. The second half is the same thing, but in vertical layer 2 levels. It's also, in my opinion, significantly easier. It also flows a little bit better, in my opinion. Except when you mess it up, but that's okay. So yeah, this half was inspired by vanilla SMW. I forget what castle it is, but there's one castle with a layer 2 segment that kind of scrolls like this, where you're like trying to jump up with a bunch of springs and stuff. When I was designing this game, I really tried to take as much inspiration from regular SMW that I could. And obviously there's a lot of inspiration in here from hacks and like the hacking community and stuff as well, but just especially for like level theme ideas and stuff, I wanted to take stuff, especially because this is my first hack, I wanted to take stuff that was obviously fun enough that it stuck out to me in regular SMW. So I wanted to design stuff, especially for layer 2, I wanted to design something around stuff that had already worked. And this third half was originally not here at all, but shoutouts to Amethyst Rocks, who was a fantastic playtester who helped make this game a lot better, and really liked this level and wanted the third half. So this exit is inspired by the original Kaizo series, where you just have to kind of time your entrance, and then you get into a Wendy boss fight, which, thanks to the retry patch, is actually not random. Once you die, somebody's going to die and show it off. But because you're respawning in the room, Wendy will always do the same thing here instead of being random. So this is Final Fantasy VI, oh my god, I don't have it on screen. Decisive Battle by Veilstraza. Shoutouts to all the porters again for this game, because they are willing to put all their work on SMW Central, so I can have a playlist for my game. So the nice thing about this fight is, because of the way the fight's seated, you can basically just sit on the left the entire time. It ends up actually still being kind of hard there, because you still have to time your last hit and stuff, and wrap around and then jump up again, but ends up being a pretty fun fight still, even though there's the cheese strategist hanging off to the left. So that's World 2. 2 worlds in 49 minutes while kind of casually talking through everything's not too bad, I guess. Again, this isn't meant to be like an actual speed run, otherwise I would have probably not talked through any of it, to be perfectly honest. But I just wanted this to be a run that I could kind of edit a little bit more down, and then post on YouTube and just kind of have as reference material, if anyone was learning this game, or if anyone just wanted to watch it. So next up is Dizzy Drifting, which is my take on a cape level. When I was designing this game, I sucked at flying. I'm a little bit better at it now, so like I could design like a cape level with like actual flying and stuff. But when I was designing this game, I sucked at it so bad that I did not want a cape level with flying. So instead we have a cape level with spin flying and descending down. I'm going to explain what happens if you go this way first, so I can kind of explain the setup a little bit more. But this level is built around on-off blocks that will basically change the line that I'm spin jumping on right now from facing up to facing down. And this is also the first level in the game that features these lighter munchers, which will instantly kill you, even if you're big. So what ends up happening in this level is you end up hitting these on-off blocks to either change around where lines are or to change where platforms are going. So since that line disappeared, you're actually able to get through here now, and this part's kind of just slow falling with cape speed. A lot of people seem to think that you need to keep flight right there, but you actually don't if you get lucky. It's very, very, very difficult to keep cape there. And a lot of people who are actually very good at cape actually tend to struggle a little bit with this level because I was so bad at cape when I made it that like I didn't even like fathom that you could continue flight off of this platform. But there is a troll if you spin jump off of this cape, or if you spin jump off of this saw. Basically you end up having to go back to the beginning of the level. And I guess I'm showing this off now. So if you fall down here, it's not instant death. And what ends up happening is this platform ends up flying over here, which is weird, and ends up kind of breaking your chance of getting the secret exit right here. As you may have noticed, the secret exit is again a red level, so there's actually 2 exits in this. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do the first exit first. And I guess while I'm at all the shoutouts, this is another Final Fantasy VI song. This is a port by a user that's named Unknown User. So shoutouts to Unknown User, and it's Final Fantasy VI Blackjack. This level's aesthetics underwent kind of a lot of changes because, as you can tell, it's a little bit more intense than usual. But I wanted to kind of focus on a lot of like brighter, happier colors and stuff, because this game's not really meant to be like the most difficult thing in the world. Like obviously it's challenging, like for sure, but I also wanted it to be something that people could like reasonably beat quickly if they wanted to. So I wanted that to kind of carry through in the aesthetics of this game. This jump right here though is kind of a dick, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's probably the hardest jump of the level, but it's also probably the most satisfying to pull off. As you can tell, the second half is built sort of almost like an Ultra Star, where like almost like a vertical Ultra Star, I guess. And this obstacle tends to piss off a lot of people, but it's basically just stand on the very edge of the platform. And then as you're ducking, you're able to bounce off of this. Use spin flight here to protect yourself against that bullet. And from earlier in the level, if you spin jump upwards, you're able to kind of keep your momentum, land on that platform again, and reset your jump so you're not spin jumping onto these platforms down here. It also lets you jump up to here, wrap around to here, slow fall to here, and as you can see, there's an orb on top of these death blocks. I'm gonna die. Okay. Normally, in the situation, you would just instantly die after collecting the orb. But because this is a vertical level, you will win instantly after touching the orb, so you're fine. I had to make that a little bit more tense, apparently, because I had to explain stuff. And I'm going to be going back for the secret exit of that level, obviously. But shoutouts to Pokemon Black and White for this overworld music. This is N's theme, port by Pat545. Again, we're coming back to World 3, so I'll explain that later, but I just wanted to kind of point that out while I was there, because odds are I'm going to forget later. So the secret exit of this level, as you can tell when I accidentally fell down there earlier, is kind of weird. It involves having the lines in a specific pattern, and there's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to show my way to do it, and then if I die while doing it, I'll show the alternate way that other people playing this game found. But if you end up actually hitting that, you end up bouncing back up here, and what that ends up doing is basically just resetting this without you having to go over to the left first. It's sort of a back to start, but also it saves you a step, so it's not like entirely a back to start. Also, you may have noticed that I canceled my spin there. That's because these death blocks that I used actually have a very corner pixel where you're not going to die. I didn't really know that that was going to be a huge thing, but everyone basically playing this game has found that out, so it is something I'm planning on fixing whenever I do 1.1. But for now, just enjoy the generous hitboxes. So if you go down here, as you saw, I basically hit the on-off platform, and instead of going over to the right and wrapping around down to the checkpoint, I went back to the left and fell down here, and because of that, this platform is actually just kind of bouncing up and down now. And basically just time this, hold left, it's really generous, honestly, and you get to go into the secret exit, which again is layer 2, because layer 2 is the best thing in Super Mario World. And this port is... oh, this is the Mega Man 8 song. Oh, it was Pirate Man in the music. Okay, whatever. So, this is Mega Man 8, Astro Man, port by Young Go Tanks. I think I accidentally said this was the Rain Slick Redwoods music, but it's not, so. Alright, so. As you can tell, I wanted to keep the cape platforming aesthetic kind of going. And in this level, it kind of made sense to just have a layer 2 with the mushroom platforms from the first part, and then kind of explore that in a different way. In this part, I really wanted to kind of have fun with a lot of stuff that I hadn't yet used in Bunbun World design, because honestly, this is one of the later segments of design for me. So this level was built around basically this first Super Koopa bounce, because I haven't really seen people use that Super Koopa as a way to get a cape in a Kaizo hack. They're kind of mostly just reserved for vanilla and some non-vanilla hacks. I'm just going to reset this. Okay. So I wanted to build this part around cape platforming, and specifically kind of using your slow fall speed to do some kind of cool stuff. This level would be very, very, very difficult if you did not have a cape, but because you have a cape and you're able to fall and kind of control yourself pretty well, it's not too bad. This part tends to confuse a lot of people because cape actually does not kill Pokies. So what I tend to do for this part is I'll just kind of keep this platform near me, and then here you have to do a disco bounce. This troll tends to get a lot of people, but you can grab that key just before, and then if you fly this right, you can basically just bounce off that chuck head and go into there. Kind of surprised I one-shot that ending, because that last chuck tends to get a lot of people, but I am not upset that I don't have to do that punch. So this level is Dolphin Dreams. This is another 3-part level, as you can tell, kind of based around dolphins, and as you can now see, Eldad 1 and Eldad 2. I really like dolphins, and again, they're another thing in SMW that just like always really stood out to me. Specifically all the levels where you end up using the dolphins to never touch this guy. So I really wanted to have my take on that in kind of Kaizo form. I wouldn't really say, honestly, that this is one of the most original levels of the hack, because it's basically just a bunch of like dolphin tech and stuff. But I had fun designing this level, and like all the jumps in it are fun, so you don't always have to like reinvent the wheel to have fun with a hack. So I was kind of going off of that. So this part, you have to kind of use the, that was a weird hitbox. You have to use the fact that when these porky pufferfish are out of the water, they like slowly descend but still have weird floaty physics, to get through and ride that guy across this gap over here. This level, as you can tell already, is the hardest of Special World outside of the final castle. It's also the longest, and it also has the most variety of tech. So it's like, if I'm being perfectly honest, it's probably not a level that people are going to end up playing in the any percent route. Which I actually think is funny because the level that we're skipping for now, quote unquote, is the actual water level. But that was sorted by design because I personally like Super Mario World swimming. I know that's like kind of blasphemous these days, but I think you have a lot of control in the water, and if there's any game that made swimming fun, it's Super Mario World. Alright, so ride this guy over here, and spin jump up, as you're supposed to do. I didn't really do it right, but when you aren't an idiot and do it right, it's pretty fun. There's not a ceiling there, I just didn't really jump for some reason. So, whoops. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that obstacle specifically. I originally had it designed so you had to do the dolphin clip where you like spin jump at the very lowest part. But honestly that was kind of a pain in the ass, so I decided to not do that. And then this part specifically is taking one of these Rip Van fish like in and out and back into water. That obstacle also tends to get people because it's kind of weird, but in my opinion it's one of the more fun obstacles in this level. Definitely one of the more unique ones because I've never really seen these Rip Van fish like jumps where you go in and out and back into the water. And you can see this segment is kind of weird in Mario in that you're going left. I really wanted at least one segment in this game that was like a long segment where you were actually platforming from right to left, because I just wanted to see how it felt. Spoilers, it feels really awkward, and there's a reason why people normally don't go right to left with Mario levels, but I think that there's a lot that you can do just by reversing the horizontal direction that you maybe wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And if you've played this before and you're wondering, yes, I am aware that you can technically despawn the upcoming dolphin because it's kind of jumping forward at that time. There's a way that you can kind of get screwed and that dolphin won't spawn and then you just can't really win. I will be fixing that in 1.1 because that's a kind of lame way to die. So this segment, like besides the second half of the first level, this segment underwent probably the most dramatic redesign. I've thought about it, and I don't exactly know how like much editing I'm gonna end up doing on the YouTube version of this run, I guess. But if I end up doing that and showing off like how drastically this level changed, it used to be completely different. And I'm pretty sure like every obstacle okay, wake up fish. That's bad. Still saved it. I'm pretty sure every obstacle of this level changed around. Shoutouts to Kaizo Saw. And this is the first level in the game, I think, that you actually have to like collect the midway here. I, knock on wood, have not seen anyone die to that. I don't really want anyone to die to that. I just kind of want it to be like a little bit of a scary moment. And then the third half of this level, as you can see, goes back into the cave, but this time you have a fire flower. This third half was something that I actually designed like pretty far away from the first half of this level. But I wanted to kind of just have fun with fire flower because I haven't really seen like a lot of people use fire flower. I know that there is some stuff out there that uses it, but for the most part it's kind of a power-up that people tend to forget about, in my opinion. And honestly, like for good reason, because it's not like all it really does is kill enemies, but there's still fun ways around that. Well, at least I got one of them. But like Rain Slick Redwoods, it basically just drops you onto a pipe, and it's GG, and you have all the switches. I'm glad that the second half of that level didn't take too long, because the second half can go on for a little bit if you're not careful. So taking this warp, it ends up taking us to the level above next, which is Night Sky Scamper. we're going to skip that for now and go back to breathtaking because this is 100% run and you got to do everything. So this is the water level, and in order to make it interesting, basically, I forced a kind of tight timer on you. It's basically tight enough that you have to pretty much one-shot everything, but it's somewhat loose, and you can normally, like, sort of mess up one of the obstacles. I wanted to put this info box in there because if you don't really know how to swim through this level, it's going to be a nightmare. But if you hold down while you're swimming in SMW, you have an insane amount of, like, vertical control, and can basically just, like, mash as much as you want and, like, sort of raise yourself up. But it basically means that you can move slow motion here and be perfectly fine. And if you noticed here, I actually have ice physics in this level. I like to think of them as underwater physics because it seems weird to me in Super Mario World that you have so much traction underwater. And as you can see, there was 6 seconds on the clock there, so I could have probably afforded to even wait on that wood platform and been fine, but I didn't want to chance it. The second half of the level is kind of diving deeper into the water, and this time you have to feed a red Yoshi. I didn't have a Yoshi feeding segment in this game, and I don't feel like they're like required, but because I wanted to make the second half an item swimming level anyway, I figured it might be kind of fun to force you to swim around. It's a little bit more exploratory, trying to figure out how to find stuff. And then basically use red Yoshi to kill him with the fireball, boost up through here, don't kill yourself on those munchers, and you got 10 seconds to also do this room, which is kind of a twist on like the regular Mario World like flagpole things. If you end up just holding down and swimming up to there, you can kind of just barely clip yourself up onto it, run through, and still have 5 seconds on the clock. Again, kind of a tricky level, but once you know your route through it, I think it's pretty consistent. Night Sky Scamper. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I'd even shouted out Dan the VP in the last level, but Super Metroid Brinstar Overgrown with Vegetation was an awesome, awesome port and perfect for an underwater level. This is DuckTales The Moon, port by Crispy, and the main gimmick of this level is that it's an Ultra Star with this rope gimmick that I found from Jump, where if you're climbing up on a rope, you actually phase through these semi-solid platforms basically to the left. I have no idea why, honestly, but basically I just wanted to make this level with, basically make a level with no enemies, and now that I'm saying that out loud, I realize that I've been falsely advertising one of my Bunbun World 2 levels as the first level without enemies, but that's okay. But basically I wanted to make a level where you're like switching back and forth between a platform and a rope, and using the on-off platforms, as I'm doing here, to basically just kind of make your way through. Climb up, and you'll end up passing through right there, and then basically you can use that to bounce through and go through here. Second half, it's a little bit lighter out, I guess, which is why I wanted to make that aesthetic. I do kind of wish I would have made the first half of this level a little bit brighter, because I feel like this half it's a lot easier to see where the lines are. So don't be surprised if Bunbun World 1.1 changes that a little bit. And basically all of this is just kind of platforming through. This ending is something that got completely tweaked from the original draft of this, because it used to be a red herring ending, and it kind of pissed off one of my playtesters way too much. But that was a cool one-shot. I'm pretty happy with that. That level, obviously, like, once you know your route through it, it's fairly consistent. I haven't played it in like 2 months, and I was able to one-shot it, which felt kind of nice. And then finally, we're coming up on Bunbun Bastion, which is the end of the any% route. This port is by Wakana, and it's from Toho 10 Mountain of Faith Autumn Fall, and it's called Fall of Fall. It's, as you can tell, this is a sort of different aesthetic than pretty much every other Final Castle ever, in my opinion. But it's built around all of the castle sprites that I haven't really gotten to use yet, and specifically these coin or block snakes. I love block snakes, and I think that they're a lot of fun, and even the regular block snakes, which are pretty slow, still have a lot of room for Kaizo fun, in my opinion. And that's a controlled spring jump, which everyone hates, but I still love, so And as you can tell, basically this castle is just all around these block snakes that once they reach the end they disappear, except for this guy, which is from Castle 7, I believe, in SNW. This path is the exact same as it is in that castle, but as you can tell, I made a Kaizo version of it. Jump down here, gives you enough time to actually do that kick and set up this bounce right here, and then just get the door entry, and you're good. This music is another Dan the BP port. I don't even have to look at my notes for this one, because this is Robomanus from Battletoads. And I didn't even have a chance to explain that boss fight, but basically what you want to do there is stay on the winged platform and dodge the block snake long enough to kill the Reznor and destroy the thing that eats the block snake, so you actually have something to land on. If you end up landing on the block snake and getting rid of it, you can still get all of the hits, but the flying platform ends up actually dying before you get to the end of it, so ends up not really working out for you, I guess. So this is the end of any percent. I guess this is technically the first any percent run, but any percent run that anyone ever does is going to beat this, because I did an extra 3 levels and died a lot. But that's okay. So this level, Culmination Castle, took me a month to design, and you're about to see why, I guess. Let me pull up the music credits for this one, because there's a lot of music in this level. Starting off with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Sky, and Darkness. This is Temporal Tower by Ultima. And as you can tell, this room specifically is basically a nexus, so basically checking to make sure that you have all of the switches pressed. Shoutouts to Nexus 15, by the way. And basically when you go into this castle is inspired by the final castle of Bunbun World 2, as well as just the final castle of regular Super Mario World, where you have a couple of different rooms to go into, basically themed off of previous levels in the game. And you're free to choose any of the numbered rooms, and basically the numbered rooms flow into a forest room, which flow into a numbered room, which flow into a forest room, which flow into a numbered room, which flow into a forest room. Which means that this is a 6-room castle in the end, but you get saves in between every room, so it's not really that big of a deal. It's just kind of a long level. So I'm probably actually going to play through this level 3 times, just so I can show off all the rooms here. As you can tell, this first room is inspired by Apple Hill Forest, same tile set, same palette also, which, by the way, was a goddamn nightmare. And while I recommend it if you're gonna do this style of like Final Castle in the future, like, be warned that it takes forever, because the castle background and tile set is very, very, very different from the forest tile set, and it just pulls colors from a different spot, so you end up having to basically remap your entire tile set and palette and stuff to look like your other level, but not actually be your other level. So, long story short, it's a goddamn nightmare. It ends up paying off in the end, but it takes forever. So, I basically also was inspired in this by the B-sides of Celeste, which is an amazing game if you haven't played it. And basically I wanted to make, like, hard versions of the levels you've already played to sort of test all the stuff that you've already learned. And this will flow into what I'm basically just going to call the 6-screen Sweets room. Both this and room 2 will flow into here, so you don't have a choice in this one. This obstacle got designed pretty radically. I've never really seen anyone do it the way that where you just drop onto that platform right there, but it's a little bit easier. Alright, so this takes, obviously, a lot of elements from the one-screen castle level, but it's hard to combine all of those elements together, because it was a lot of really random stuff. But I think this does it okay. I think it takes a little bit from every room except for the P-Balloon Reznor room, which I guess I could have done, but yeah. Alright, so for 3, 4, and 5, music changes to Mega Man ZX Green Grass Gradation, another port by Ultima. I used a lot of Ultima music in this game. And just for the interest of keeping this easier for me, I'm going to do room 3 now. This is the Mount Ninja inspired room. Again, it's a vertical segment with Ninjas and Bowser Balls and Mecha Koopas. Honestly, like, a lot of this stuff is stuff that you've already seen, but it's just done in a lot harder of a way, or a lot tighter of a way. Okay. This is another palette, by the way, that took forever to transfer over because caves and castles don't share the same thing. I keep bringing that up because I do, like, it's one of those things that, like, as a creator, I, like, kind of want to point out because I don't think anybody else is really going to notice or care. Okay, can I just wait? Like, I'm not asking, like, trying to learn my segment again. I'm just asking, like, I know what to do and would like to just do it, but I'm not for some reason. Another thing I guess I can point out that I haven't pointed out yet, all of the backgrounds in this level are hand-drawn, well, quote-unquote hand-drawn, I guess. Like, they're all assets that are already in SMW, but I took them together into the Layer 2 editor and made my own backgrounds out of them. Okay. So this one is probably one of the backgrounds I'm most proud of, so I just kind of wanted to point that out while I'm still in this room. Oh god. I guess I have more time to point it out now. But honestly, this is actually probably one of the harder rooms in this castle. There's not, like, a difficulty curve between the rooms, really, so, like, room 1 is pretty much as hard as the final room. I kind of wanted the final castle to just be, like, of equal difficulty no matter really what route you took, which took a very long time, so I, again, really want to shout out my playtesters, especially the ones that, like, got this far. Because this is a level that took me a really long time to design, and honestly I kind of like locked myself in a cave for a really long time in order to get it done. And parts of it were really good, and then parts of it were complete shit, so shout out to the playtesters for helping iron out most of the shit. I jumped. Yo, Nexus, how's it going? Welcome, by the way. So, as you can see when you get to the top, it's sort of a callback to the checkpoint of the first Mount Ninja thing. It's a little bit harder, as you can tell, because you're a little bit closer to the Lava Lotus. I wish I could just do the spin jump. So you're a little bit closer to the Lava Lotus, so you have a little bit less time to react, and the fireballs are a little bit harder to avoid. But it's okay. And I think I completely forgot to ask, but how you doing, Nexus? Welcome. I am very not used to having a microphone while streaming, so... Okay, so same thing as before. Just wait out your fireballs, and then by the time there's 2 rounds of it, you can bounce through and bounce up. And then this takes you to the Cotton Candy Castle segment, which, to be perfectly honest, really has nothing to do with Cotton Candy Castle, like, beyond being the same, like, aesthetic and stuff. But it's fun enough that I decided to keep it. Oops. Sorry, getting a text from my wife, so I gotta respond. But. Alright, so, when I was designing the auto-scroller in Mount Ninja, I forget who, but someone came in and made a comment about me using an auto-scroller that wasn't the fast auto-scroller. So I decided, why not have 2 auto-scrollers in this game? Fun fact, you will never get past that Piranha Plant unless you get hella lucky. And even if you do, it doesn't really matter because you have to damage boost right there. So now we're in the final selection segment of the game, I guess. This music is a sick port by SyncX. It's from Super Monkey Ball 2 and it's the Clock Tower. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and stay in order and just do all of the left rooms and then all of the middle rooms and all the right rooms. So this is my take on flying after I learned how to fly, basically. It's only spin flying, despite the fact that there's coins up ahead that may say otherwise. But I wanted to design a vertical segment where you were going up this time instead of going down. But I also wasn't like... So, I say I was better at flying when I designed this segment. Like, I'm okay at spin flying, but like, I really can't do like anything else. So, I wanted this segment to just basically just be a kind of fun run up using the platforms from the Ultra Star level, or the flying level that was sort of Ultra Starry, I guess. I realized while designing though that I couldn't actually use the lines with this castle set, and I didn't want to break the aesthetic of this entire castle, so I ended up just having to use these like checkerboard up and down platforms. Honestly, I haven't really seen a flying level with them, so I'm glad that it kind of ended up working out like that. Shout out to that troll, by the way. I haven't seen that actually get anybody, but I hope it has, and I just haven't seen it. And then finally, as you can tell, it takes you into a castle, or an outside version of Bunbun Bastion, basically. This segment, again, kind of, besides the block snakes, is pretty different from the regular castle. But I really wanted, like, after designing Culmination Castle, I really wanted a segment with these, like, nets, or the curtains, not the nets. I wanted a segment with the curtains kind of actually being obstructive in Kaizo platforming, while still being able to play around with all of the block snake stuff. So, I don't know. I think it came out okay. Some people don't really like how blind the segment is, but it's also the last room in this game, so, like, if there's any segment that's, I think, okay for it to be a little more cheap and kind of just trying to get you at every turn, I think it's the last segment of the game, personally, but, I don't know. I could be wrong, but long story short, suck it, I guess. So, this segment also is the first and only time that I actually used dry bones in this game. I didn't really, like, not intend to use them, but they just kind of ended up not really working out in any of the designs for the levels. So I really wanted my chance to use them. I think it ended up being kind of fun because it's just another like platforming obstacle course, basically bouncing off of them. I personally like that guy the most though, because I've seen him actually throw his bone at people and kill people, and it's pretty satisfying when you can trick a player using the regular old dry bones method. That one's a little bit more cheap, but that's okay. And then finally, you get a goal, which is kind of weird for a final castle, but it's because I wanted to be able to break up the final castle and the final boss. Mostly because that's a fucking long castle, and I didn't also want you to have to sit here and do Bowser's Tower right after. So like I said, that was take 1 of 3 through this castle. I'm going to go ahead and do the other rooms now just to kind of show them off. Fun fact, in speedruns, it's always a good idea to replay the same level 3 times. So this segment is obviously based off of Dino Rhinos. And specifically, it actually has a lot of a tile called 1FE, which is basically acting as a spike in this level, so it'll kill Mario, but it also holds Dino Rhinos in place really well, and basically makes them just little things that you can bounce off of consistently. I do actually kind of want, next time I die, I'll show off why you have to bounce off of this guy twice. So it may seem like you can kind of just bounce off of this guy and then spin jump here, but the way that torch lasts, it lasts just long enough that if you don't actually kill him before spin jumping, you'll never get through there. It's just kind of a weird timing thing. So you do a fast fall right there onto there to kill the Dino Rhino and actually be able to get through with the saw. I haven't actually really seen a lot of people like struggle with this segment because a lot of people don't really try to like speed through this. I think there's also like a pixel perfect way where you can get around that and like spin jump kill the Dino Torch like as you're bouncing off of the saw, but like hit the very corner of the Dino Torch so you don't actually get hit by the fire. But like if that sounds ridiculous, it's because it's ridiculous. I forgot that's a little bit of a fast fall there. Alright, so this part was basically, I had to kind of play through it, but as you could tell it was basically just bouncing off of Dino Rhinos to activate a Kaizo to be able to stand on, to be able to enter the door. And then like I was saying the first time I was in this room, basically being able to clear that takes you through here, which is the 6-screen Sweets room again. I wanted, when I was designing this game, one of the things that I was really inspired by again was watching Barb design his final castle of his game. What's up, Crimmy? How you doing? I was really inspired by watching Barb design his final castle because he kind of just like kept adding stuff, but then made like 80% of it optional depending on how you're going through it. And like at the time, I felt like that was a lot of work that was like never really going to be seen, but what it ended up doing was basically making it so it put a lot of that in player control, which is something that I think a lot of Kaizo designers could do a little bit better, in my opinion. Because like, yeah, a lot of Kaizo levels are designed to only really have like one way to go through, but like, you can still play around with that and basically make it so you have a Kaizo level, but you have to do room A or room B instead of suddenly having to do like 20 rooms back to back or so. I mean, I guess that sounds weird because this is still like a 6-room castle, but I'm not saying that at all, Krumi. I really like Terminus, actually. I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, but I've been watching a lot of your stuff, especially off stream, and like lurking in people who are testing Terminus 3 and stuff, and I like your stuff. I only mean because Crewbone is hated in a lot of people's chats for some reason. I personally don't care, but I just joined the meme. But I will say that just kind of like generally speaking from a lot of Kaizo hacks that I have seen since I've been lurking in the community for a long time, I do think a lot of them kind of tend to stick to what works a lot of the time. And like, there's nothing really wrong with that, but I do think that a lot of the hacks that tend to stand out to people are the hacks that tend to take a lot more chances. Even if all the chances don't land, like, I will fully admit that there's shit in this game that like did not land, and if I was designing it now, I wouldn't have put in. But like, I don't know, there's also a lot of stuff in here that I haven't personally seen in other hacks really, or like I've only really seen in a hack or two. And like, for this hack being pretty much just all stuff that is found in regular SMW, I feel like that's fairly rare. So, I don't know. Not trying to like just toot my own horn or anything, I guess, but just kind of more trying to say that I think that there's room for people to kind of experiment with like flexibility and stuff. No, this is not 1.1. So unfortunately, Krumi, your name is still misspelled. So is Eldad's. I'm sorry. So this room is obviously Slippery Spirits. Because this is a castle aesthetic, I actually didn't have hills in this version, so I had to use these pipes as slippery hill obstacles here. Sorry, I gotta be a little bit quieter through this one because this level is a little bit more precision platforming with ice stuff, which is a little difficult. By the way, I've talked about the music a lot in this game, but I really want to give a shout out to this port specifically, because in my opinion, this port's actually better than the original song. And like, there's a lot of ports on SMW Central that are like exact replicas of their songs and like super great at it, but like I feel like it's kind of rare to be able to make a song better by SMW instrumentation. And I think this port actually did it pretty well, so shoutouts for that. I don't know if Ultima's ever gonna watch anything that I did, but in case you did, great job. So this is another segment, kind of a throwback to the respawning the bubble segment of Slippery Spirits, where I wanted to force you to go back, grab a bubble, and then ride that bubble through the end of the level. As you can tell, basically all of the flow of these levels is pretty similar to the level that they came from, but just kind of like I was saying earlier, the B-side version of it pretty much. You can also use that Eerie that you respawn to get through here, but in my opinion the bubble's easier unless you're a dumbass and jump on it instead of spin jump. Some people use the Eerie though. It is somewhat easy to lose the bubble right there. I tried to design it so there would be no way for you to like get that bubble off screen, but of course people are better than I am and found a way to get it off screen. Let's go ahead and do this, but not die this time. No? Okay. Shoutouts to vertical pipes in Super Mario World. Okay, sorry, I had to text my wife really quick. So, I'm gonna try to finish this before she calls on her way home, so I probably got like another half hour or so. I'm very much hoping to be able to spend some time talking about the credits and the final boss, so I gotta sort of buckle down here. Oh god, that was probably the worst thing I could have done. Shit, my phone died. Alright, be right back. Alright. So let's not get fucked over by a vertical pipe this time, please. So the spin jump off of this angled pipe is actually pretty specific, as you can tell. I wanted to make this like specific spin jump as easy as possible, but honestly, given the setup of it, it's just a very hard setup. But that's okay. These winged angel blocks are also a lot of fun to work with for designers that are curious and haven't really worked with them yet. Okay, let's get up here, wrap around, bounce through here, despawn the bubble. So we're doing this with the Eries. Shoutouts to backup strats. Shoutouts to vertical fucking pipes. Okay. So, in the interest of saving time, actually, I'm going to pop back in here, because that's all the ghost room is, and then it links up to the auto-scroller. I'm going to go ahead and show off this next room now, and just do the Lakitu room, which will also connect to the auto-scroller, because I've already beaten this level. I don't need to show off getting into the pipe, really. If that's upsetting to viewers, then whatever. I'd reached the end 3 different times, so, including once with the bubble, and once with the Eries, so... I feel like that was more important anyway. I am intending to fix that despawn issue though, so you like don't have to use the Eries if it despawns, because I don't really like punishing the player for going too fast, but I also may get rid of this Wiggler jump or significantly nerf it, because a lot of people have had trouble with this jump, and I don't blame them because it's kind of awkward. You're actually supposed to get 2 bounces off of it and then bounce off the guy right there. It's not like impossible, obviously, because even after not having done it in a while, I was able to get it pretty quickly. But it's not something that you want to get stuck on for a while, because it is just kind of jank tech. And then, like I said, both this and that pipe that I struggled to get into. Sorry, I was sitting kind of far away. Both that and the pipe I was struggling to get into link back up to here. So we'll just go ahead and get through here, and then I'll show off the last 2 rooms. I'll probably just exit out after I beat the last 2 rooms, because I don't need to show off the Bunbun Bastion room again, really. The only reason I'm even beating the rooms that I've already beaten before is so I can get back to the stuff I haven't beaten. For some reason, even though spin jumping did not work there the last time I tried it, I decided to try it again. So yeah, I've seen one person on one attempt fireball kill that piranha plant successfully, and everyone else has not been able to do it. So I think it's possible, but it's also kind of just like bullshit tight and not really doable. This room is obviously inspired by Breathtaking. It's another tight time limit room. Built around swimming. I force you to do that first obstacle before being able to quit out, though, just because I am a nice person. I decided for this one that it didn't really make sense to force like a full item, like Yoshi feed segment here. So I instead just decided to go with the key for the item swimming. It's still tricky, obviously, because this isn't like the freest platforms around. But basically clip through the key right there by holding down. It kind of sucks that I actually entered the door though, because that means I have to do this entire level all over again. Whatever. It shouldn't really actually take that long, hopefully, to get back there. So I'll just go back and then do the Ultra Star room, because the Ultra Star room's worth showing off too. If I didn't like everything in this game so much, I would have just probably kept going, but... Actually, it makes a little bit more sense right now to just reset. Because this will take me back to the beginning of Culmination Castle. Oh means that I can just edit when I get back to that Nexus, or for Twitch, y'all could just sit and wait, I guess. I guess this one's probably faster. I'm just gonna save state my way back there. Oh wait, no I'm not, because this is technically a speedrun. Quote-unquote speedrun. Which I guess I invalidated by resetting, but I mean it's still single segment, I guess, so not really, but I don't know, as I'm doing this, I'm quickly realizing that this is not really too much of a speed run, so much as just me trying to beat this with a timer up. But, I don't know, it might also be nice to give people a goal time to play towards as they're going through this, even if I've played a lot more than I probably should. Maybe I'll try an actual run after this, like with splits and stuff, so I can just have one run that's an actual speed run. That might not be the worst idea, because I don't know if I'm really going to be able to continue being on mic for a whole lot longer, and I can at least do the speedrun part back with no mic again. Maybe fish room would be faster. So I really wish that I wouldn't have actually entered the door and the key and just showed off how to get into it. But that's okay. Because for some reason I added that into this level. Okay. 1/6 of the way there. Let's go Mecha Koopa. Yeah, no, how's it going? Just trying to finish up. I said this was a run originally, but it's pretty clearly not, because I've had to go through and like do a bunch of levels that aren't actually required for a speedrun. So this is like a quote-unquote speedrun, but mostly just me talking through my game. I'm just trying to get back to this last room of Culmination Castle so I can show it off again, because I was sort of dumb and didn't actually do what I was supposed to do. But how are you doing? Ah. Sounds good. Well, good news is I should be back to actually giving commentary and stuff fairly soon. Whenever I can get through this damn room. Alright. And then, just for clarification, after I beat the Ultra Star room coming up, I will be quitting out of this castle to show off Bowser. Getting through the end of this, and then I'll be editing this down for YouTube as my like developer commentary run. I was kind of planning on talking more about like the development process for some of these levels in it too. So there may be a couple of times where I sort of intersplice like post-edited stuff. I'm promising a pretty big game here because I still have to figure out if I can even like download my VODs right, but if I can, that would be nice to do. Because I have a pretty good vision of what I want this final YouTube thing to look like, but I actually just gotta kind of make it happen. Alright, so back to here. We're gonna go in room 8 now. And then this is obviously the Ultra Star room with the ropes and stuff. It's honestly probably the tightest room of this, but it also has, in my opinion, my favorite background. Because it's a nice little fusion of the wood foreground with like castle, like final castle feeling aesthetics and stuff. Most of this room is pretty self-explanatory, honestly, but it did receive quite a lot of tweaks thanks to playtesters and stuff. So again, I just wanted to shout out everyone that like helped make this game what it is. Because especially, like, I think this room was just like straight up broken in a lot of playtesting stuff. I forgot what I was supposed to do. But people were super patient and willing to even like play all the way back up to this point to be able to test for me. So I'm really grateful for that. I just kind of wanted to give a shout out for that while I was doing this run, because it's important. So this obstacle is kind of weird because you actually have to like brush up against the side of the on-off block, jump up here, jump at these coins to be able to catch yourself, and then reset the line again. And then reset the line for a final time there, drop through there, use the trick again, because I love that trick. And then wrap around here. You can actually just stand on that platform and then go through there. And I'm just going to go ahead and die now because we've already seen the Bunbun Bastion room. So, finally, coming up on Bowser's Tower. This takes place right after the end of this. And I'm going to show off something that nobody's seen so far. There's a mushroom here. Nobody in any playthrough I've seen has jumped on top of this to get the mushroom. I didn't want to show it off until this run because I was just going to see if someone found it out, but anyway. So, this is Bowser. Shoutouts to Benevik for helping make this fight possible, but as you can see, this is not Vanilla Bowser, even though it has Vanilla Bowser music. This is a version of Bowser that's basically just made to be a sped up, kind of silly version of Bowser. Like, it's admittedly not designed to be very hard. It's kind of just meant to be like a you got this far and deserve to kill Bowser, so here's a kind of silly boss fight to be able to do it. It's not free though, because as you can see I just missed the first 4 hits of this. Because Bowser, it's like Bowser's regular movements, but sped up a lot and kind of modified a bit. So this actually isn't the best situation, because you don't actually want a ball skip in this fight for the reason that's on that info box. You want it kind of as a backup strategy to be able to kill stuff. And because the fire phase of this fight is stupid, I just decided to have it not in here. So shoutouts to Benevik for making that possible. And I'm actually going to keep this disco shell around to show off another thing that a lot of people don't know. That's fine, whatever. So I'm going to show off another thing a lot of people don't know. Disco shells kill that shell for some reason, or kill that ball for some reason. And then you can kill the disco shell, and then suddenly the rest of this phase is super easy. A lot of people tend to try to use the Bowser balls to run into each other to kill it, and you can do that, but it is a lot harder. And I'm gonna have to show it off now because I fucked it up. So this is what you would typically see from people who like maybe don't know this game as well. You have to try to lure the Bowser balls basically into each other and kill them like that. I made that look a little bit easier than it actually is because those Bowser ball, like, they track you pretty well, but I accidentally set the leniency of the frames to track a little bit higher than I probably should have, I think. And basically what that meant is that I had kind of a weird, I didn't mean to do that, that's fine. And then phase 3, in my opinion, is actually easier than phase 3 in the vanilla fight. This is basically just the vanilla Bowser pattern, but with his like horizontal speed sped up twice as much. And basically what that means is he bounces in a pretty like predictable and safe pattern here a lot of the time. Alright. And that is officially GG on the first ever quote-unquote run of Bunbun World. 151 is a very easy time to beat for this, and will probably be shredded on my next attempt at this. But honestly, pretty happy that I was able to one-shot that fight. I really just kind of wanted to, like, to be perfectly honest, the entire reason I did this run was to show off the stuff for the Bowser fight, because a lot of people tend to have trouble with it. And if you don't know the random little tricks to get through that fight, it's a janky mess. I'm just going to go ahead and admit it. Like, I will be the first person to admit if you don't know the weird ways to get through that fight, it's a goddamn nightmare. But if you know the random little tricks to get through, just from kind of playing around and doing some stuff that you maybe wouldn't be able to do normally, you can normally get through there pretty quick. And then as you notice, that didn't take you to credits because credits is an actual level. And something I also want to point out here is beating Bowser actually triggers the fall sequence in the game. So I'm going to be doing a run through the overworld after this because some of the overworld actually changes around a little bit, as well as some of the sprites. But basically I tried to make it so after you beat Bowser, it was like you beat Special World from regular Mario World. And as it says, this is dedicated to my fiance, Princess Bunbun. Shout outs to Taylor because she is the love of my life and she made this possible for me. I basically made this game more or less because I wanted to make art for her, and then it turned into a kind of intense Kaizo hack, and then it turned into a ridiculous Kaizo hack, and then it turned into a ridiculously well-supported Kaizo hack, as you can see. So shout outs to everyone who made this possible, because really, like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And then shout outs to my playtesters here. As you can see, it's a pretty long list. Everyone in gold here was a clear, at least as of the version that I gave them. So shoutouts to, especially, like, honestly, shoutouts to everyone on this list, but thank you for everyone who was able to help me make this game what it is, because it would not be half of what it is without you guys. And even though I didn't really use too many graphics or patches or anything to make this game, I still did have some. And shoutouts to ROM Hack Races for making the base ROM for this game, which got rid of a lot of the kind of issues stuff that I was going to deal with. I already gave most of the shoutouts to the music ports, but again, thank you for everyone who made music for this game. Whether you were making music for this game or not, I really couldn't have done it without you. And, like, yeah, this game would have been okay with vanilla music, but I don't know. And then this is just a very long thing that I'm going to scroll through. Basically everyone that I was friends with in the Super Mario World community at the time of making this, or people that I saw that were in the Little Guyzo's Discord or the Girls of Kaizo Discord that I knew. And then shoutouts to all of my subs at the time of this, because they were
very, very, very generous for subbing to me when they really had no real reason to. But yeah, that's Bunbun World. I'm going to take a quick walk through the overworld here so you can kind of see the differences after you've 100%ed it, because I don't really know if anybody's done that yet either. So this changes from green water to blue water, and kind of more of like dark brown ground. The most drastic change is the main overworld, which obviously becomes fall, and then dipping into the cave for World 2, as you're going to see it completely changes color palettes from being all purple into being this cool, like, bright blue and tan ground. And in addition to small overworld changes, the piranha plants in the game and the bullet bills in the game also get modified. So if you dip back into level 1, for example, these things are birds now instead, and actually kind of fit the forest aesthetic a little bit better. But I kind of just want to show this off because, like, I know a lot of people typically wouldn't really go through the effort of replaying a level after they 100%ed it, so